Hello guys. Welcome to another send of coaching sa ating last na subject, which is yung first subject nyo sa exam, which is crop science. Simulan na natin. Question number 1. Which of the following provinces is considered as the pineapple capital of the Philippines? So alin kaya daw dyan sa mga probinsya na A, B, C, or D ang pineapple capital of the Philippines? So the correct answer here is letter B, Bukidnon. Okay? So Bukidnon is known for its pineapple production. Basically, dyan din kasi yung sentro ng Del Monte Corporation. So they are meant for, they are really good at, pasensya na, meron lang nag-torpel. And anyways, ang sagot dito is Bukidnon. Sila ang tinatawag na pineapple capital of the Philippines. Ang Bulacan is, it is maybe known for its rice production kasi nasa Central Luzon dyan. Ang Davao is more on the Cavendish banana. May mga prutas like durian, kakao, mangustin. Sultan Kudarat, medyo halo-halo sila, no? Pero medyo mataas rin yung production nila ng livestock naman like poultry and swine. And isama mo na din dyan yung root crops production nila. So ito yung iba't ibang mga provinces sa Pilipinas. Hindi lahat, of course, but the provinces that are known for some of production, agricultural production here in the Philippines. Like for instance, we have Isabela, which is the corn. You can say that they are the corn capital of the Philippines. We have Nueva Vizcaya naman as citrus capital of the Philippines. Nueva Ecija, I think yun ang rice granary of the Philippines. Although Isabela is also they are also a province known for rice production as well. Benguet is salad bowl of the Philippines. Yan, Cebu, yan, kung lechon naman ang pinag-uusapan. Quezon province is the coconut capital of the Philippines and so on and so forth. So you can use this as a reference to know yung iba't ibang mga significant crops that is produced for some provinces here in the country. Second question, still a question about pineapple. So in pineapple production naman daw, what is the term for lateral shoots that develop at the base of the fruit? Commonly, yung part na yun ay ginagamit for propagation. So at the base of the fruit, ano yung tawag doon sa shoots na lumalabas na ginagamit for propagation purposes? Ang tamang sagot dyan would be your slip. So ito yung iba't ibang mga parts ng ating pineapple. So we have here the crown, for instance. Yan yung leafy top of the fruit. Okay? And we have here the mismong pineapple, which is, by the way, a multiple fruit, yung ating pinya. And then yung tumutubo sa base ng pineapple, na shoot part would be your slip. These are small plantlets that grow just below the fruit and yan yung ginagamit for most of vegetative purposes. And ito yung mga dahon niya, yan yung stem. We have here also the sucker here, which is could be this could develop as a slip as well, and their fruit and their fibrous root or basal stem basal stem system. Number 3, the caladium plant is primarily cultivated and sold as what? So caladium. So ano ba kasi ang caladium? At ano ang purpose daw ng caladium? Yan ba isang cut flower, potted flowering plants, ornamental turf grass, or a cut foliage? So kung hindi pa kayo nakakita ng caladium, ang caladium looks like this. Okay? So ang caladium natin is a cut foliage. So siya ay dahon na maganda yung kanyang design, ginagamit siya as a cut foliage. Madalas sinasama rin yan sa flower arrangement and other types of decorations. No? Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, yung dahon niya, iba-iba yung kulay, maganda sa mata. So hindi siya cut flower because it is not a flower. So kung hindi siya flower, hindi rin siya potted flowering plant. And mas lalong, hindi po yan ornamental turf grass. Number 4. Dragon fruit is classified in the genus Hylocereus. Okay? Which of the following characteristics makes the red flesh variety more commercially valuable than the white flesh variety? So first statement, nag-provide siya ng fact about dragon fruit, which is dragon fruit daw belongs to the genus Hylocereus. Pero actually, walang kinalaman itong statement na to. Kasi ang tanong niya is, bakit daw mas mahalaga in terms of market preference yung red flesh variety as compared to the white flesh variety? So dahil ba mataas ang water content? Dahil ba mataas ang antioxidant content ng red flesh variety? Dahil ba mas matagal ang shelf life ng red flesh variety? Or dahil better disease resistant ito? So the reason kung bakit mas mahal, mas mas valuable, marketing wise speaking, ang red flesh variety ng dragon fruit is because of its higher antioxidant content. So ito yung dalawang most common variety ng dragon fruit. Meron kang purple flesh or red flesh and meron kang white flesh. Okay? Now yung flesh color niyan determines now the natural pigment that is higher on that specific variety. Now for red flesh dragon fruit, okay, or purple flesh dragon fruit, mataas yung tinatawag nating betalains, okay? Mataas yung tinatawag na betalains or yung anthocyanin content ng ating red flesh dragon fruit. And ano tong betalains na ito? Betalains. Yan po ay isang natural antioxidant. It is a powerful antioxidant, itong red flesh fruit na ito. And dahil mas mataas yung antioxidant niya, ang antioxidant, yan po ay pangontra sa cancer. And because of that, mas mataas ngayon yung nagiging value ng ating dragon fruit that are red flesh. So letter B, yung tamang sagot dyan, the red flesh dragon fruit have a higher antioxidant content. Next question. Which of the following here, the options, is an example of a modified stem? So alin kaya dyan ang modified stem? Carrot, onion bulb, cassava root, or potato tuber? So among these four options, ang modified stem dyan, kung nabalikan nyo yung pag-aaral ng modified roots, modified stem, and modified leaves, ang tamang sagot dyan is letter D, yung mismong tuber ng patatas. Yung kinakain natin, those are not actually roots, but they are modified stem. So let's talk about a little bit about some modified roots, stems, and leaves. Now, when we say modified plant parts, yan yung mga plant parts sa halaman na medyo weird yung kanilang location. So that's one. Or that medyo weird yung kanilang structure and medyo weird yung kanilang function. So that is outside of the traditional location, structure, and function na alam natin na functions, na characteristic ng roots, stems, and leaves. So simulan natin, ano-ano ba yung mga modified types of modified roots? Okay. Now, merong mga roots that we call as storage roots. So dyan napapasok yung other options kanina dun sa question, like carrots, cassava, sweet potato or yung kamote natin. Now, itong mga roots na ito, they are modified particularly kasi aside from functioning as a root, they also function as storage of large amounts of starch. Kaya naman, yung mga storage roots natin, pwede rin siyang gawing pagkain kasi mayaman siya sa glucose, mayaman siya sa starch, and that provides energy for animals, including us, that is consuming this storage root system. Now, aside from storage roots, we also have aerial roots. Now, itong mga aerial roots naman, instead na below ground yung kanilang root system, makikita sila sa itaas. So, above ground sila. That is why they are considered as aerial roots. And they do absorb moisture directly from the air. So, kasi nga, wala sila doon sa lupa, nandun sila sa above ng lupa. Kaya yung moisture na nasa taas ng lupa, yun yung pwede nilang i-absorb. So example niyan would be your orchids, okay? So your orchids or your banyan trees. So tinatawag silang meron silang aerial root system kasi yung kanilang roots ay wala necessarily sa ground, nasa above ground yung kanilang mga ugat. And then meron ka rin tinatawag na prop root system. So ang prop roots naman, uso yan sa, what do you call this? yung puno na ginagawa nating shield. Mangrove, yan. Yung mga mangrove trees natin, they are prop root systems and ang function nila is to provide additional support. So for instance, dito, this one is also mais. Okay? So yung mais, for instance, makikita nyo meron silang root system sa ilalim pero mayroon silang provided rin na support. Okay? So yun yung pinoprovide naman na function ng prop root system. And then we also have pneumatophores. Now these are roots that grow upwards out of the soil or water to allow the plant to take in oxygen. So ang mangroves natin, for instance, pwede siyang pneumatophores, pwede rin siyang prop root system. Okay? Kasi itong mga to ay tumutubo sa tubig, ano? Now, sa tubig, wala masyadong oxygen. So, nagde-develop sila ng pneumatophores, ng mga roots above the water in order to get oxygen sa taas ng tubig. Ano-ano naman yung mga modified stems natin? So, dyan kasama yung patatas. So, isa sa mga common na modified stems natin are the rhizomes. Okay? So, rhizomes, madalas ang tubo ng mga yan, they are horizontally growing, underground stems. So kasama dyan, for instance, yung ating ginger, yung ating turmeric. Kasama rin sa rhizome yung ating bamboo. Okay? So bamboo, kasama yan sa rhizome. Ang keyword dyan is that they grow horizontally underground. And then ito yung example natin kanina, yung ating patatas. So yung tubers natin, they are not modified roots, but they are modified stems. So tubers, such as the ones found in your potato, are actually underground stems that stores food as well in the form of starch. Yung mga mata, doon na makikita nyo doon sa patatas natin, doon actually tumutubo yung panibagong buds that is capable now in producing new shoots and roots. So ang tubers natin, they are meant to store starch, but they are also stems. Okay? They are not roots, but rather they are stems. And doon sa mga mata, for instance, ng mga patatas natin, doon tumutubo yung mga panibagong buds ng halaman. We also have our bulbs. So bulbs, katulad ng mga makikita natin sa onions are underground stems surrounded by leaves storing carbohydrates and other nutrients. So they are stems and they are surrounded by leaves. Yun naman yung ating bulbs. So example ng bulbs is yung ating onions. Isama mo na rin dyan yung tulips. Okay? Meron silang bulbs na modified root system. So dito, nandyan yung pinaka-roots, for instance, ng ating bulbs. Yung pinaka-stem dyan is this one. Ano yung mga fleshy leaves? Yan. Yung makikita nyo yung mga ganyan, yan po yung dahon ng ating leaves. Kung mapapansin nyo, the leaves is surrounding the stems of our bulbs. Another modified stems are yung mga stems na may mga thorns. Ang pinaka-purpose naman ng mga stems na to is to prevent other animals from going into it and harming the plant. So yun yung purpose ng thorns na yan. So mapapansin nyo meron silang sharp structures such as yung makikita natin sa mga citrus, yan, sa mga pongkan. Yan. Meron silang mga thorn. Kasama na din dyan, of course, yung ating rose na flower. And then meron din tayong tinatawag na cladodes. So what are cladodes? Cladodes are flattened stems that resemble and function as leaves. So para silang stem, but they function as leaves. So in plants katulad ng cactus, itong mga structure na to, yung mga cladodes na yan, they are the ones performing the process of photosynthesis. And kung bakit sila malapad, kung bakit flattened yung shape nila, ay para mas magkaroon sila ng mas mataas na surface area for light absorption. And yung light na na-absorb nila, because malapad yung kanilang cladodes, nagagamit ngayon yun for photosynthesis. So these are your cladodes. And then we have stolons. Stolons are, we also call this as your runners. They are horizontal stems naman that grow along the soil surface. Itong mga stems na to are capable of producing new shoots and roots at their nodes. Okay? Now, stolons, they grow outward from the parent plant and they can establish new plants at some distance from the original parent plant. So examples ng ating stolons is yung ating strawberry, for instance. We also have corms. Okay? So corms is still a modified stem. So corms are short, vertical, swollen underground stems that store nutrients to support the plant's growth during the period of dormancy. Now, ang mga corms natin, they are primarily composed of stem tissue rather than fleshy leaves. So in comparison sa bulbs, baka malito kayo, no? Ang bulbs is composed of fleshy leaves, whereas ang corms naman, they are mainly composed of stem tissues. Yun yung pagkakaiba ng corms at saka bulbs. So example ng corm natin would be your taro or yung ating gabi, as well as gladiolus. Now, aside from modified stems, we also have modified leaves. At isa na sa mga example ng modified leaves is yung ating tendrils. So tendrils, these are coiling structures ng ibang mga halaman. And ang pinaka-purpose ng tendrils ay para sila ay makaakyat sa isang support. Okay? Now, ang tendrils, according to scientists, nag-evolve daw yan kasi itong mga halaman na to hindi sila nakakakuha ng sunlight. So in a very dense forest area, na hindi sila nakakakuha basta-basta ng sunlight. And isa sa mga pamamaraan nila para makakuha ng sunlight ay umakyat doon sa mga halaman na mas mataas doon sa kanila. So, nag-evolve yung tendrils in order to compensate yung problema na yon na lack of sunlight, especially in a densely forested area. We also have spines, which is yung makikita natin yan, yung mga spines na yan. These are actually leaves, ano? So in many desert plants, yung leaves nagiging modified spines, which are hard, sharp structures that reduce water loss and protect the plant from herbivores. Okay? Now, kung ito ay nagiging dahon, eh ano na ngayon yung area na yan? Now, yung area na yan, nabanggit natin kanina, ito yung modified stem nila. That is now, ang pinaka-main na function niya is to photosynthesize. Aside from spines, yung mga leaves natin na modified are succulent leaves. Yung mga makikita natin, for instance, doon sa, yung ginagamit sa shampoo. Ano yung ginagamit sa shampoo na halaman na aloe vera, yan. So, ang pinaka-purpose ng succulent leaves is to store water. So, they are succulent leaves with thick and fleshy system of leaves that store large amounts of water. Meron din tayong mga bracts. Okay? Mga dahon naman yan. Okay? Mga dahon yan, basically, na parang bulaklak. Okay? Now, hindi sila bulaklak, parang bulaklak lamang sila. And ano ba yung purpose kung bakit magaganda yung mga bulaklak natin? Ang reason kung bakit magaganda yung mga bulaklak natin ay para maka-engganyo or maka-invite ng pollinators. And kapag yung dahon ay makulay, ini-invite niya rin yung pollinators na pumatong doon sa mismong true flowers ng halaman. So yung bracts, napakaganda niya, hindi dahil siya ay bulaklak, pero ang pinaka-purpose niya is to attract pollinators para sila ay pumatong, mag-landing doon sa mismong flower ng halaman. Yan. So yan yung primary na function ng ating bracts. And this one, ang example ng bracts is this plant, which we call as your bougainvillea. And finally, we have carnivorous leaves. So ito yung mga dahon that trap and digest insects naman, katulad ng Venus flytrap and pitcher plant. So the leaves are modified into structures na magtatrap ngayon ng insekto, and then ginagamit nila basically yung insekto na yon, binibreakdown nila yung insekto na yon para sila ay makakuha ng nutrients na kailangan nila. So ito yung mga examples ng modified stems, leaves, and roots that we have as of now, hindi lang sa crop science, but rather in the broader subject of biology. Number 6. The carrot is the best example of a plant with the largest fibroot root system, taproot system, adventitious root system, or lateral roots. No, pagdating sa root systems, meron tayong dalawang klase. Okay? Meron tayong taproot and meron tayong tinatawag na fibrous root system. Okay? Now, ano yung taproot system natin? Yung taproot system natin, meron kang single prominent primary root, such as this one. Okay? And then, alongside of it, mayroong mga tumutubong mga different roots dyan. So, ang pinaka-keyword sa taproot system is yung pagkakaroon niya ng single prominent primary root. And out of that, tumutubo ngayon yung ibang mga ugat na nasa gilid niya. So, for instance, yung ating carrot na tinaguri ang largest taproot system, yung mismong carrot na yan yung primary root, yan yung taproot ng carrot. And sa gilid niya, tumutubo yung iba't ibang mga maliliit na root system niya. Yung fibrous root naman, yan yung uso naman sa mga grasses. Okay? So, basically, wala silang multiple roots, but it's just they are composed of mainly a lot of secondary roots. So para siyang buhok basically. Okay, with the word fibrous, para siyang mga hibla ng fiber na nagkalat. So fibrous root system naman ang tawag dyan. And then meron din tayo, aside from your taproot and fibrous root, meron tayong tinatawag na adventitious root system. So ano naman yung mga adventitious root system? They arise from stem tissue rather than from the embryonic root. So itong mga adventitious root system natin, tumutubo siya doon sa stem. They are roots na tumutubo doon sa stem ng halaman. Instead na tumubo siya doon sa mismong embryonic root systems ng mga ito. Now for some, meron pang mga roots na tinaguri ang foliar roots. No? Yan naman yung mga roots na tumutubo, hindi sa stem but rather doon sa dahon ng halaman. So yan yung two or let's say three types of root systems that we have. We have taproot, adventitious, and then fibroot root systems. So the carrot now is the best example of a plant with the largest taproot system. Kasi nga yung taproot na yan, nagiging storage roots yan. And yan yung lumalaki, yan yung hina-harvest natin. Pero sa gilid-gilid ng mga roots na yan, dun sa gilid-gilid ng primary taproot ng carrots, makakakita ka ng mga maliliit na root system pa. Number 7. Which structure in the plant cell is responsible for cellular respiration and energy production? So, aling part kaya ng plant cell is responsible for energy production? So, energy production. Okay? So, mitochondrion, chloroplast, ribosome, or vacuole. Of course, ang tamang sagot dyan is mitochondrion. Okay? So, the mitochondrion is the part of your plant cell that is, a plant of your plant cell that is responsible for energy production in your plants. So review lang ulit, ano yung iba't ibang mga parts of our plant cell. So we have, for example, yung cell wall natin. So the cell wall is the structural support or protection of our plant cell. And these are mainly composed of cellulose for most plants, although for other plants, it is also composed of what we call as hemicellulose and pectin, lalo na yung mga plants natin na medyo matigas or makapal yung kanilang stems. Okay? And then, inwards, meron tayong tinatawag na cell membrane, or we also call this as your plasma membrane. So your plasma membrane, ang pinaka-function naman niya is to control the movement of substances in and outside of the cell. Meron silang selective barrier, and we call that selective barrier as your plasmodesmata. Wait. Not necessarily. Ang plasmodesmata is very important sa pagta-transport ng cytoplasmic components, basically. So, mali yung sabi ko, no? So, alisin nyo yun. So, basically, yung plasma or cell membrane natin, meron silang selective barrier that allows the transport of different gases, different substances. And yung plasmodesmata naman, this one, para yung maliliit na butas, and they become now channels between plant cells that allow for transport and communication. Okay? Next, we have the nucleus. So, ano naman yung ating nucleus? They are the control center of our cell. So they contain the cell's genetic material. Yan yung pinaka-purpose ng ating nucleus. Yung cytoplasm, yan yung swimming pool na nandun sa loob ng ating cell. Okay? So, yan yung tinatawag rin natin na site of photosynthesis. Kasi they do contain, for example, yung ating chlorophyll, yung ating thylakoids, at yung ating stroma structures that are very important in photosynthesis. Mitochondria, yan naman yung nagpo-provide ng energy doon sa ating cell. Kaya nga ang mitochondria, tinatawag din siyang powerhouse of the cell. We also have endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum, hindi ko pala nailista dito. Yan. So meron tayong rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So ang rough at smooth endoplasmic reticulum ay very important yan to synthesize proteins. Okay? Now, anong pagkakaiba ng rough at smooth endoplasmic reticulum? Ang pagkakaiba nila is the presence of ribosomes na tinatawag. So kapag may ribosome, yung ER natin, rough. Kapag may ribosome, R, rough yan. Kapag walang ribosome, smooth naman siya. So ano ba kasi ang ribosomes? Ang ribosomes, yung mga maliliit na yan, okay, they are very important for protein synthesis. And then we also have the vacuoles. The vacuoles, these are parang malalaking mga tangke, basically, this one, no? And yung tangke na yan, they store nutrients, they store waste products, and helps maintain turgor pressure, ano, para mapanatiling matatag yung ating cell. Hindi sila basta-basta nagko-collapse. We also have peroxisomes, which are peroxisomes are important naman to break down fatty acids and detoxify harmful substances. Nandyan din yung lysosomes. Although yung lysosomes, they are not very common among plant cells. Madalas makikita mo lang yan sa mga animal cells. Ano pa ba yung hindi natin na-discuss? Yeah, I think that's it. Okay? So here is another table for you guys to review and to familiarize yourself with the different plant cell parts. Again, I am assuming na na-review nyo na rin ito kasi na-discuss ko naman yung lesson on plant cell, na-discuss ko rin yung lesson on plant tissues and the different functions of these cells and tissues sa ating halaman. So this is just a brief reading for you to go through it again para mas maging matatag yung memory nyo in relation to this particular concept sa crop science. Okay? So you can, again, pwede niyong makuha yung mga ito doon sa handouts na binigay ko sa inyo. Basically, yung handout na yon is yung presentation ko mismo and some commentaries on some of the slides na na-discuss ko in this particular lecture. Number 8. What is the primary function of xanthophyll in the lymph? Okay? So ano kaya ang function nitong xanthophyll na to? Now, hindi mo masasagot yan kung hindi natin alam kung ano ang xanthophyll. But basically, the xanthophyll is a pigment in your plant cell that protects the chlorophyll and absorb excess light energy. Meron kasi tayong tatlong pigments sa ating plant cell. So yung pinaka-common is yung tinatawag nating chlorophyll. So ito yung primary pigment that is responsible for photosynthesis. Okay? Yung chlorophyll. Yan yung nagpo-provide ng green na kulay doon sa ating halaman. Ngayon, kapag masyadong intense yung liwanag na nakukuha niya, maaaring ma-damage yung chlorophyll natin. Diyan na ngayon papasok yung ating carotenoids. Okay? And dyan sa carotenoids na yan, this can be classified into two, carotenes and yung option kanina, ay yung question kanina na xanthophylls. Okay? So yung carotene is a type or a class of, ang xanthophyll is a class of carotene. Ngayon, itong carotene na to, ang pinaka-function niya is to capture the additional light energy from the photosynthesis and protect the leaves from excess light. So kapag may surplus ng liwanag, si carotene po ang nag-absorb ng light na yan para mas maging efficient yung halaman sa kanyang photosynthesis process. Okay? And ito rin, carotene na ito yung nagpo-provide ng orange, red, and yellow pigments doon sa ating halaman. And finally, we have anthocyanin. Now, anthocyanin Yan yung red, purple, and blue dark colors na makikita natin dun sa ating halaman. Itong anthocyanin na to, makikita mo kapag yung halaman ay kulang sa phosphorus. Okay? Kapag yung halaman ay kulang sa phosphorus, instead kasi na siya ay mag-produce ng chlorophyll, nagpo-produce siya ng anthocyanin to compensate for that lack of chlorophyll. Now, kapag nag-produce siya ng mas maraming anthocyanin as compared to chlorophyll, nagiging purple na ngayon yung dahon ng ating halaman. Number 9. Stomata in most plants are primarily located saan? So in most plants, ang tinatanong ha, sa mas maraming mga halaman, saan mo daw makikita yung stomata? Dalawa lang yan. It's either upper epidermis or lower epidermis. Ngayon, yung mga stomata natin for most plants are actually found in the lower epidermis ng halaman. So think of the leaf like a tiny factory, di ba? And kailangan ng factory na yan, kailangan ng leaf na yan ng carbon dioxide to enter and oxygen and water vapor to exit. Ngayon, yung gate, okay, yung gate that allows this factory to get yung mga required na molecule niya like carbon dioxide and nagpapalabas ng oxygen and water, ang tawag doon, stomata. Okay? Ngayon, itong stomata na to, usually nakalocate siya sa baba, okay, sa lower epidermis, hindi sa upper. Kasi kapag nakalagay siya doon sa upper epidermis, they would be hit directly by sunlight all day. And because of that, magkakaroon ng too much water loss through transpiration. So ano yung pamamaraan ng halaman para hindi mangyari yung too much transpiration na yon? So ginagawa, yung epidermis ay nasa baba ng halaman. Nandun siya sa shaded underside ng dahon, wherein it is cooler and it is less exposed to direct sunlight para mas balanse yung gas and water conservation. So ito yung structure ng ating leaves. So ano-ano yung mga functions ng mga yan? For instance, we have cuticle. Yan yung waxy protective layer ng ating leaf surface. Ang pinaka-purpose ng wax na yan is to prevent water loss and protect the leaf from damage and diseases. Now, sa baba ng cuticle, you have the upper epidermis. Okay? So ano yung upper epidermis na yan? Yan yung outer layer of the cells beneath the cuticle. And ang pinaka-purpose ng epidermis is to provide structural support. Now, this one, sa baba ng cuticle, is upper epidermis ang tawag dyan. Yung nasa underside naman ng halaman, ang tawag mo naman dyan is lower epidermis. Ano naman yung palisade mesophyll? Yung palisade mesophyll naman is the main site of photosynthesis, specifically for C3 plants. Okay? Pag-uusapan natin yung iba't ibang klase ng photosynthesis later on. And then, yung palisade mesophyll, these are tightly packed cells, basically. Pero yung mesophyll that are loosely arranged cells, ang tawag mo naman doon, spongy. So basically, halos parehas lang yung structure ng palisade at saka spongy mesophyll natin. Ang pinagkaiba lang is that yung palisade mesophyll, these are tightly packed, whereas yung spongy mesophyll are loosely packed cells. And kung mapapansin nyo, yung stomata nga, okay, or yung ating guard, yung ating gate, okay, makikita mo yan sa baba. Sa lower epidermis. And ang pinaka-purpose ng stomata is to allow carbon dioxide to enter for photosynthesis and to let the oxygen and water vapor escape. Now, yung stomata na yan, binabantayan yan ng tinatawag na dalawang guard cells. So kapag masyadong mainit, para hindi masyadong maglabas yung halaman ng tubig, magsasara yung stomata. Kapag naman hindi na ganun masyadong kainit, magbubukas naman siya para magkaroon ng exchange of carbon dioxide and water vapor. So ito again is a short table on the different parts of your leaf cells. Okay? Ano yung mga keywords na kailangan yung makita dyan? And ano yung quick memory tip in order for you to better memorize yung mga functions ng different parts of this cuticle, different parts of these leaf cells. Number 10. What is thigmonasty in plants? Now, thigmonasty in plants, ano kaya yan? This is the response of plants in relation to touch. Ngayon, ang halaman kasi natin, gumagalaw yan. Okay, naniniwala ba kayo na gumagalaw ang halaman? Yes, gumagalaw ang halaman. Hindi nga lang katulad ng hayop ng naglalakad, but they also move. And there are two major types of movement. Meron tayong tinatawag na trophic movements and meron tayong tinatawag na nastic movements. Now, when you say the movement of the plant is trophic, yung growth yung paggalaw niya, okay, o yung growth response ng halaman na yon ay nakadirekta doon sa kanyang external stimuli. Okay? So ano-ano yung mga external stimuli na yan? For example, ang halaman, gagalaw yan doon sa direksyon ng liwanag. Ang tawag doon, phototropism. Okay? Lalo na yung above part ng halaman, gumagalaw yan towards the light kasi kailangan niya ng liwanag. So phototropism ang tawag dyan. Yung roots naman ng halaman, okay, gumagalaw yan pababa towards gravity. Ang tawag mo doon, geotropism. Okay? And yung roots ng halaman, gumagalaw rin siya para makakuha ng tubig towards water. So, hydrotropism naman ang tawag yan. So, kapag trophic yung movement na pinag-uusapan natin, ang ibig lang sabihin yan is kung saan yung external stimuli, doon siya papunta. So kung nasaan ang liwanag, doon siya papunta. Kung nasaan yung gravity, doon siya papunta. Kung nasaan yung may tubig, doon siya papunta. Yun yung trophic. Kapag nastic naman, nastic movements, walang direction basically. But they still move in response to the stimuli. For example, meron tayong tinatawag na nicti-nasty, okay? Or yung day-night leaf movements. Okay? Iba yung gumagalaw yung leaves base kung umaga or gabi, nictonasty. Seismonasty, according to shock response, or thigmonasty, yan yung question kanina, according to touch response, katulad ng ating makahiya. Okay? So gumagalaw siya, basically may external factors kasi, pero random yung kanyang paggalaw. Hindi siya nakadirect doon sa nasaan ba yung source ng stimuli. Yun yung difference ng trophic at nastic movements. Next question, number 11. Which type of photosynthetic pathway is found in sugar cane and corn, allowing them to be highly efficient in tropical conditions? So yan ba ay C3, C4, CAM, or C2 pathway? So itong mga pathways na to, you can also think about them as the types of photosynthesis. And meron lang tayong tatlo. C3, C4, at saka CAM. Okay? Wala po tayong C2. So among A, B, and C, ang sugarcane at saka corn natin, kaya sila efficient sa mga maiinit na lugar, is because they're exhibiting what we call as C4 pathway. So later on, i-discuss natin yan. I-discuss natin yan briefly para makita natin yung difference ng C3, C4, at saka CAM. Number 12. A CAM or crassulacean acid metabolism plant opens its stomata primarily at, so saan daw nagbubukas yung stomata under CAM ng mga halaman that does the CAM photosynthetic pathway. So nagbubukas yung kanilang stomata is either sa gabi or sa umaga lang yan. Okay? So ang tamang sagot dyan is letter D. Okay? The stomata of plants exhibiting crassulacean acid metabolism pathway opens up during the night, hindi sa umaga. Kasi kapag sa umaga niya binuksan yan, lalabas yung excess na water. And kung mapapansin natin, example ng CAM natin is yung cactus. Okay? Now, ang cactus, kailangan nilang mag-conserve ng tubig. So, hindi nagbubukas yung stomata dyan sa umaga. Kasi kapag ginawa nila yon, lalabas yung tubig. So, nagbubukas lang siya sa gabi kung saan malamig. Next. C3 plants are less efficient in photosynthesis under high temperatures and bright light because they undergo. Okay? So, tinatanong dito is, bakit daw kaya ang C3 plants less efficient sila kapag mataas ang temperature? Ano kaya yung reason? Dahil ba mataas ang carbon fixation? Dahil ba may photorespiration? Dahil ba enhance ang ATP production? Or nag-i-increase yung chlorophyll synthesis. Now, the reason kung bakit less efficient ang C3 plants under high temperature is because of what we call photorespiration. So, di-discuss natin yan isa-isa. Okay? Now, simulan natin doon sa three types of photosynthetic pathway. Simulan natin doon sa pinaka-usual. Sa maraming mga halaman, ang tawag doon sa pathway ng kanilang photosynthesis or type of photosynthesis nila, we call it as C3 photosynthesis. Okay? So ano yung C3 photosynthesis? Yan yung pinaka-basic and the most common type among many plants. So sa C3 photosynthesis, basically, yung carbon dioxide, okay, papasok yan dun sa stomata ng dahon and directly pupunta na yan dun sa mesophyll cells, which is the site of photosynthesis in C3 plants, okay, palisade or spongy. Okay? Now, inside the mesophyll cells, nangyayari na yung tinatawag nating Calvin cycle. So sa Calvin cycle, basically, dyan na nato-turn, dyan na napuproduce yung sugar na pangangailangan ng ating halaman. And the reason kung bakit siya tinawag na C3, okay, the reason kung bakit siya tinawag na C3 is because yung pinaka-first na product formed under this type of photosynthesis is called 3-PGA. Okay? So 3-PGA, or basically it's a 3-carbon molecule, yung pinakaunang napoproduce under a C3 pathway, or 3-phosphoglycerate, or 3-PGA in short. Now, ang C3, may weakness yan. Ano yung kanyang weakness? Kapag masyadong mainit, so under heat or drought conditions, yung ating stomata nagsasara. Diba? So when the stomata closes, ibig sabihin, nababawasan rin yung amount ng carbon dioxide na kanyang naa-absorb. However, okay, dahil nabawasan yan, yung rubisco na tinatawag, na kailangan sa C3 pathway to bind with carbon dioxide, magbabind pa rin yan. Pero hindi na siya magbabind sa carbon dioxide. So bakit hindi na siya magbabind sa carbon dioxide? Kasi nga nagsara yung stomata. So saan siya magbabind? Magbabind ang rubisco doon sa ating oxygen. Okay? Now, kapag nagbind yung rubisco sa oxygen, ang tawag dyan, photorespiration. Okay? So under photorespiration, walang sugar na napuproduce dyan. Kasi the rubisco binds with oxygen. Eh hindi naman natin kailangan ng oxygen sa photosynthesis para makapag-produce ng sugar. Ang kailangan natin, carbon dioxide. So kapag merong photorespiration, sayang lang yung function ni rubisco. So iyan yung weakness ng ating C3 pathway. Ngayon, itong weakness na to, nasusolusyonan yan ng mga plants that are undergoing C4 photosynthesis. Okay? Now, sa C4 photosynthesis, and this is most common doon sa mga halaman natin like corn and sugarcane na madalas nakikita sa mga regions na maiinit, merong extra step na nangyayari dyan. Okay? Now, under C4 photosynthesis, yung carbon dioxide ay papasok ngayon doon sa mesophyll cell ng halaman. Okay? And dito sa mesophyll cell, napoproduce yung 4-carbon compound. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na C4. So dito sa mesophyll cell, 3-carbon compound yung unang product niya. Pero dito naman sa C4, 4-carbon compound yung kanyang unang product. And that 4-carbon compound, ang tawag natin dyan is OAA. Okay? Or oxaloacetate. Or oxaloacetate. Okay? Ngayon, may extra step na mangyayari. Okay? Now, this C4 compound, yung oxaloacetate, is transported into the deeper parts of the cell. So, yung oxaloacetate, yung C4 na yan, pupunta ngayon siya doon sa mas loob-looban ng part ng ating cell. Doon sa bundle sheath. And dito sa bundle sheath, nangyayari yung Calvin cycle wherein sugar now is being produced. So kung mapapansin nyo, dito sa C4, meron siyang bundle sheath kung saan yung high carbon dioxide now na nandito will now reduce the incidence of photorespiration. Okay? So, parang ang isipin nyo, instead na naandito lahat ng carbon dioxide, at kung wala ng carbon dioxide na papasok dito sa mesophyll cell is magkakaroon na ng photorespiration, hindi. Yung carbon dioxide, papasok pa siya dun sa mas malalim na part ng ating plant cell. So, in a way, nako-conserve ngayon yung amount of carbon dioxide na nasa sea for plants. Kasi nandun na siya sa mas malalim, kumbaga, na area ng ng plant cells natin. Okay? Now, aside from C3 and C4 plants, meron ka rin tinatawag na CAM. Okay? Now, yung CAM naman yan ay uso sa mga cactus. Okay? Now, ang CAM natin, basically, gumagamit sila ng tinatawag na vacuoles. Okay? So, sa umaga, yan. Sa gabi na, magsimula tayo sa gabi. Sa gabi, nagbubukas yung stomata. Kapag nagbukas yung stomata sa gabi, syempre nag-a-absorb yan ng carbon dioxide. Okay? Nag-a-absorb ng carbon dioxide. So, yung carbon dioxide na i-absorb niya, ang ginagawa niya, ini-store niya yan dun sa vacuoles ng plant cell. Okay? So, na-store yan sa plant cell. And then, pagdating ng umaga, kung saan may araw na, nagsasara yung ating stomata. So, wala nang papasok na carbon dioxide yan. Pero dahil meron siyang naipon na carbon dioxide nung gabi, meron pa rin siyang gagamitin ngayon na ipaprocess niya through Calvin cycle na magiging sugar. Okay? So, yan yung pagkakaiba ng C3, C4, and CAM photosynthesis. So, sa tanong na number 13 na question, C3 plants are less efficient in photosynthesis under high temperature. Ang reason behind that is because of photorespiration. So, ano yung photorespiration? Ito yung phenomenon kung saan yung rubisco natin, okay, yung rubisco, instead na mag-bind sa carbon dioxide, nagbabind siya sa oxygen. And kapag nangyari yan, sayang yung process. Kasi oxygen cannot be turned into food or it cannot be turned into sugar by the plants. So, photorespiration ang tawag dyan. Number 14. Secondary growth in woody plants is primarily manifested as an increase in. So, secondary growth is an increase in what daw? Increase in height and leaf production, increase in root depth, increase in flower size, or increase in stem diameter. Pag sinabi natin secondary growth, yan yung sa mga woody plants primarily. Okay? Yan yung increase in stem diameter. Kasi meron tayong dalawang klase ng growth. Kapag ang tubo ng halaman mo is vertical, okay, ang tawag mo dyan, primary growth. Kung saan, humahaba yung halaman. So, the lengthening of plant stems and roots. Usually, this occurs at the apical meristems located in the shoot and root tips. So, isipin nyo lang, vertical, primary growth. Kapag naman yung halaman ay kumakapal, tawag mo doon, secondary growth. So, ang primary, tumatangkad yung halaman. Yung secondary growth naman, kumakapal yung halaman. So, ano ibig sabihin ng secondary growth? The thickening of the stems and roots. Okay? So, it is now the growth that is happening horizontally. So, sa mga woody plants natin, kaya sila makakapal kasi nga meron silang massive amount of secondary growth that is happening. Okay? So, yan yung differences ng dalawang growth types natin, which is primary and secondary. Next, number 15. Phytohormones that promote cell elongation and are involved in apical dominance include, so alin kaya dyan yung phytohormones that promotes cell elongation and they are involved in apical dominance. So meron tayong 5 klase ng phytohormones. Yan ba ay cytokinin, gibberellin, auxin, or ethylene? So ang tamang sagot dito, yung phytohormones that elongates the cell. Okay? Kaya lumalaki yung halaman, it is because of cell elongation. Ang tawag mo dyan ay auxin. Okay? Auxin naman ang tawag dyan. Number 16. The vegetative stage of a crop is characterized by, so yung vegetative stage ng crop is characterized, so kapag ang crop mo ay under vegetative stage, it is characterized by letter D, active growth of leaves and stems. Okay? So ano ba kasi yung physiological phases ng ating halaman? Siyempre, ang halaman natin, kapag naitanim na yan sa lupa, ang pinaka-first step niyan is the germination phase. So under germination phase, water is being uptaken. Okay? So kinukuha ng seed na yan, yung tubig, ina-absorb niya yung tubig sa lupa. Ang tawag doon sa process na yon ay imbibition. Okay? Nagkakaroon din ng metabolic reactivation, lalo na kapag dormant yung ating seeds. And then the radicals now, okay? The radicals, the embryonic roots, okay? And the embryonic shoots will now emerge. So yun yung germination phase. Number 2. After the germination phase, dyan na papasok yung vegetative growth stage. So under vegetative growth stage naman dyan, sobrang bilis ng photosynthesis. Kasi you have to understand, parang kapag bata ka, nagkakaroon ka ng growth spurt. Malakas kang kumain, medyo payat na, mabilis yung metabolism mo because you're growing. So ganun din sa halaman. Yung vegetative growth stage niya, yan yung parang stage niya kung saan siya bata pa. So mabilis siyang kumain, malakas siyang kumain, and ginagamit niya yung pagkain na yun to develop yung iba't ibang mga plant parts niya. After the vegetative growth stage, papasok na dyan yung reproductive phase. Okay? So the reproductive phase, nagkakaroon ng flower initiation and development. So nagde-develop na yung flower. Diyan napapasok, of course, yung pollination and fertilization na situation. And nare-redistribute na yung iba't ibang mga nutrients. Primarily, papunta yan dun sa magiging prutas ng ating halaman. And finally, we have the maturity phase. So physiological maturity or harvest maturity stage, lalong-lalo na kapag crop production ang pinag-uusapan natin. So this is the time na pwede nang i-harvest yung ating halaman. Ano yung iba't ibang mga key indicators? Minsan nagkakaroon ng changes in color, nababawasan yung moisture, nag-harden yung seeds at saka yung fruit ng ating halaman. Okay? Number 17. A shade-loving plant typically exhibits, thick waxy cuticle, larger, thinner leaves with more chloroplast, smaller leaf surface area or higher stomatal density on upper and lower epidermis. So yung mga halaman daw na gustong-gusto ng shade, or they thrive well under shaded conditions, ano yung special na feature sa kanila? Yun yung tinatanong. So here, the correct answer is letter B. Okay? Shade-loving plants have larger and thinner leaves with more chloroplasts. So, isipin nyo, yung mga shade-loving plants natin, yan yung mga gusto-gusto nila na hindi sila naaarawan. Mga vampira, kumbaga, no? Ayaw nilang naaarawan. Okay? Now, dahil ayaw nilang naaarawan, how do they modify yung structure nila in order to get light? Kasi importante ang liwanag, importante ang light for them to undergo photosynthesis. Right? So, yung mga shade-loving plants natin, usually, isa sa mga features nila para magkaroon pa rin ng enough sunlight is una, they have larger leaves. Okay? Sobrang kapal ng mga dahon nila. Mas makapal na surface area in order to catch light. Pangalawa, bukod sa makapal yung kanilang dahon, they have, not makapal, ano ba yung right term dyan? Malalaki, no? Mas malalaki yung mga dahon nila, mas malalaki yung surface area. And then yung kanilang dahon, they are thinner. So, i-X muna natin, huwag nyo munang pansinin yung word na makapal ko kanina. Kasi, actually, hindi makapal, no? But rather, they have larger leaves, malalaki yung dahon nila. Now, aside from having larger leaves, they have thinner leaves. So, manipis yung dahon. And the reason kung bakit manipis yung dahon is in order for the light to penetrate deeper into the leaf. Kailangan nila ng manipis na dahon para yung liwanag makapag-penetrate agad-agad dun sa dahon. Kailangan nila yon for photosynthesis. Now, aside from that, mas marami din silang chloroplast per cell. Okay? So, kumbaga, mas marami silang solar panel to catch yung limited light na nakukuha nila kasi nga, shade yung gusto nila para ma-maximize nila yung photosynthesis. Okay? So, bakit mali si letter A? Thick waxy cuticle, typical yan sa mga sun-loving plants. Okay? Kasi yung cuticle na yan, it is a means to protect the leaves from extreme sunlight. No, kapag may ganun ka sa isang shade-loving plants, edi hindi ngayon nakakapasok yung liwanag. So, mali na yan. Smaller leaf surface area. So, yan yung opposite ng large surface area. So, kapag mas maliliit yung dahon nila at nasa shade pa sila, hindi ngayon sila makakakuha ng mas maraming liwanag na gagamitin nila for photosynthesis. So, mali yan. Letter D, higher stomatal density on upper and lower epidermis. So, yung mga shade leaves natin, usually, mababa yung stomata nila sa baba. So, they have lower stomatal density dun sa kanilang lower epidermis. Usually, yung mga stomata nila nandun sa taas. O mas marami doon sa taas kaysa doon sa baba. Okay? Ngayon, dito kasi ang question is higher stomatal density on both location of the epidermis, upper and lower. So that makes this option wrong as well. Number 18. So 18, Gregor Mendel. So Gregor Mendel is recognized as the father of genetics because so bakit ba mga mahalaga si Gregor Mendel and bakit siya tinawag na father of genetics? So the reason kung bakit siya tinawag na father of genetics is because he establishes the laws of inheritance through pea plant experiment. Okay? So si Father Gregor Mendel, kumuha siya ng pea plant and from that pea plant, na-establish yung tatlong laws of genetics na alam natin ngayon. So ano yung tatlong laws na yun? We have law of dominance, law of segregation, and law of independent assortment. So ano yung laws of segregation? So sabi sa laws of segregation, each parent has 2 alleles for a trait, but they give only 1 to each offspring. So imagine meron kang ang isang halaman meron siyang dalawang trait. So YY, Y stands for yellow color and small letter Y stands for green color. Ngayon, yung kapag nag-cross daw yan sa another parent plant like YY, yan, ang pinoprovide lang nila ay tig-isa dun sa kanilang pairs of alleles. Okay? So nagpo-produce lang yung isa ng maybe itong malaking letter Y, tapos yung isa naman is may malaking letter Y lang din. So law of segregation ang tawag dyan. So magiging anak nila is dominant Y. So green color pa rin, basically. Ano naman yung laws of independent assortment? Sabi sa laws of independent assortment, traits are inherited independently of each other. So ibig sabihin, kapag na-form, for instance, yung gametes, yung allele na seed color, for example, do not affect the allele na seed shape. So they are independent of each other. So wala daw effect yung traits. Yung ibang mga traits, they do not affect the trait of the one trait does not affect the emergence or non-emergence of another trait. So they are independent. Although itong loss of independent assortment, pwede yung kontrahin nung tinatawag natin, what do you call this now? Yeah, I forgot the name. In any ways, yun yung general rule, ano? Yung law of segregation natin. And then, meron ka rin tinatawag na law of dominance. So, ano naman yung law of dominance? So, sa law of dominance, okay, some alleles can mask the expression of another. For instance, let's say, you have the genotype of YY. Okay? Homogeneous Y na dominant, dominant Y and then recessive Y. Now, yung dominant Y na to, they can mask the expression of your recessive Y. Okay? So, kung ang Y dyan is yellow color, ang magiging kulay ng halaman mo is yellow. Kasi ang dominant niya is yung yellow na color. Now, kapag dalawang Y yan na maliit, okay, dyan na magpapakita yung, let's say, homogeneous recessive Y, dyan na magpapakita yung ibang kulay, such as green color in your plant. So, yan yung tatlong laws na in-establish ni Gregor Mendel. Number 19. Hybridization in plant breeding refers to, so kapag sinabi natin hybridization sa plant breeding, ano ba yung ibig sabihin nun? It simply means the crossing of two genetically different parent plants. Okay? So kapag meron kang two parent plants that are genetically different, if you cross them, magkakaroon ang tawag dun sa process na yon is hybridization. At yung magiging anak nila, ang tawag doon ay hybrid. Okay? Hybrid. Number 20. What is the difference between genotype and phenotype? Ano kaya ang pagkakaiba ng genotype at phenotype? So, yun yung question. So, letter A, phenotype is genetic makeup. Genotype is the observable expression. Letter B, genotype only appears in leaves. Letter C, phenotype determines seed viability. Or letter D, genotype is genetic makeup and phenotype is the observable expression. So the correct answer here is letter D. No? Genotype is the genetic makeup, phenotype is the observable expression. So yung genotype natin, hindi natin nakikita yan, basically. Kasi nga yan yung genetic information ng halaman. So yung genotype natin, okay, yan yung genetic information. Hindi yan nakikita. So makikita mo lang yan, ma-analyze mo lang siya through molecular means. Okay? Like for instance, ang genotype could be homozygous dominant, okay? Heterozygous dominant, or homozygous recessive. Ngayon, yung expression ng genetic information na yan, ang tawag mo dyan, phenotype. So for example, kapag ang genotype ay homozygous dominant, ang magiging kulay ng halaman is purple. Kasi parehas na dominant yung B. Kasi yung B color signifies the color purple. Kapag heterozygous, through the law of dominance, dahil merong dominant na genotype dyan, purple pa rin yung magiging kulay niyan. Okay? Again, ang ipa-follow natin lagi is ano ba yung dominant expression. Pero kapag both are recessive, nag-iiba na ngayon yung color, nagiging white na. So itong observable trait na yan, yung color ng ating bulaklak, yan yung phenotype. So yung difference ng genotype is phenotype is genotype, genetic information, phenotype, observable physical characteristic. Okay? Number 21. In conventional plant breeding, what is the primary goal of selecting superior varieties? So kapag sinabi natin conventional plant breeding, yan yung natural way natin of breeding. Not necessarily natural. Kasi meron tayong conventional, tapos meron na tayong molecular. Ano? Yung molecular, yan yung advanced way. Diyan napapasok yung talagang kakalikutin na natin yung DNA ng halaman. Yung conventional, yan na yung process natin ng hybridization. Kung saan pipili tayo ng mga superior plants, ng mga plants na may superior qualities na gusto nating paramihin doon sa ating halamanan. So the reason that we select superior crop varieties is because, letter A, we want to identify and propagate plants with desirable traits. Okay? So letter B, increase crop height. Tama. Gusto natin yan. Madalas gusto natin yan. Decrease plant maturity. Tama rin. Okay? Increase yield. Tama. Yan yung reason kung bakit tayo nagpa-practice ng plant breeding. Pero these reasons are too specific. Okay? And these three reasons are being encompassed or napag-usapan doon sa option na letter A. Identifying and propagating plants with desirable traits. Okay? So yan yung best na answer kasi it encapsulates the entire purpose of why we do plant breeding. Number 22. Genetic engineering differs from conventional breeding. Ito na, sinasabi ko kanina. Because, So ano yung pagkakaiba daw ng genetic engineering sa conventional breeding? Ang genetic engineering ba takes longer to prepare and complete? Ang genetic engineering involves direct manipulation of DNA using molecular techniques. Ang genetic engineering is more effective in producing desired traits but not so much. Or letter D, ang genetic engineering does not require selection. So of course, ang pinakatamang sagot dyan is that genetic engineering differs from conventional breeding kasi mas advanced na yung method na yan. Gumagamit tayo ng iba't ibang mga molecular techniques. So the difference between conventional plant breeding is this. The difference between conventional plant breeding and genetic engineering technologies is this. Pag sinabi nating conventional breeding, we are crossing two parent plants naturally and selecting the best offspring. So mayroong selection, pipiliin natin yung dalawang parent plant na superior yung quality, ipibreed natin yung dalawang yan, and then makakapag-produce tayo ng tinatawag na hybrid. So, conventional plant breeding yan. Sa genetic engineering, basically, kinakalikot talaga natin yung genes ng ating halaman. So, maaring may crossing na mangyari, but more importantly, merong molecular technique na ginagamit kung saan ginagalaw natin yung DNA ng halaman na yan para makapag-produce tayo ng crops with superior quality. Number 23. Gene transfer in biotechnology can be accomplished through grafting alone, cross-pollination, seed storage, or through Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Okay? So ang gene transfer, lalo na sa biotechnology, is what? Is that a conventional plant breeding method or is that a genetic engineering method? So ang gene transfer natin, advanced yan kasi gumagamit ng molecular technology. So si A, B, at saka C, okay, maaaring yan ay part ng conventional breeding. Okay? So ang tamang sagot dito is letter D. Gene transfer makes use of Agrobacterium tumefaciens na tinatawag. So ano ba yung gene transfer? So in this diagram, for example, ginagamit ng mga scientists yung bacteria na Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Okay? So ito siya. Yan. Ngayon, itong Agrobacterium tumefaciens na ito, ang ginagawa ng mga scientists, ina-alter nila yung DNA. So nag-i-introduce sila dyan ng panibagong desired gene. Okay? Ngayon, kapag itong Agrobacterium tumefaciens na ito ay pumasok na ngayon sa halaman, i-insert niya itong bagong DNA na ito. And ma-alter na ngayon yung DNA ng halaman, magkakaroon ka na ngayon ng halaman with new plant, with new traits. Okay? So, yun yung tinatawag nating gene transfer. So, parang, the way you think about it is, yung gene transfer, parang yan yung nagiging, yung Agrobacterium tumefaciens, parang yan yung nagiging injection ng panibagong gene doon sa halaman. Okay? Number 24. What is the primary characteristic of genetically modified crop? So genetically modified crops, letter A, it contains only traditional traits. Letter B, it has been modified with genes from other organisms. Letter C, it requires no pesticide. Or letter D, it cannot reproduce. So ang primary characteristic ng ating GM crops is that it has been modified with genes from other organisms. So kapag sinabi natin GMO crop or GM crop, yan yung mga plant whose DNA has been altered using modern biotechnology, such as genetic engineering, yung gene transfer na nabanggit natin kanina, and others. Number 25. When applying fertilizers to a hill slope to prevent soil erosion and runoff, the recommended farming system is, so again, yung ginagamit natin na technology sa sloping areas in order to prevent soil erosion, we call that as contour farming. Okay, contour farming yan. Ano yung LISA at saka ano yung HESA? So yung LISA, yung LEISA natin, yung ating LISA, ang tawag dyan is Low External Input Sustainable Agriculture. So it is a technique of sustainable agriculture kung saan ang focus dyan is farming with minimal purchase inputs. Okay? So basically parang you will allow the plants to grow in its natural environment. Hindi ka magdadagdag, or kung magdadagdag ka man, sobrang kaunti lang yung idadagdag mo na outside inputs to your farm. Kapag sinabi naman nating high HESA, yan naman ay high external input sustainable agriculture. So sustainable agriculture din siya. However, the difference is sa HESA, gagamit ka ng maraming external input like fertilizer, improved seeds, and machinery in a sustainable and efficient way. So yun yung difference ng dalawang yan. Kapag HESA, low external. Kapag HESA, high external. Pero these two still are very important naman in sustainable agriculture. Number 26, which nutrient deficiency? Oh, medyo nag-cross yung topic natin, ng soil science at crop science. So sa number 26, ang tinatanong is yung nutrient deficiency that is most commonly manifested as yellowing of older leaves. So kapag yellowing of older leaves, yan ba ay mobile or immobile nutrient? Yan ay, so kung ang naapektuhan is yung older tissues, yan po ay immobile. Tama ba? Mali. Mobile nutrients, no? Kasi kapag mobile, yung nutrients gumagalaw from the older tissues going to the newer tissues. So nawawala ng nutrient yung older, kaya naapektuhan yung older tissues. Okay? So ang tamang sagot dito is letter A, okay? Nitrogen. Ang calcium natin, they first appear in your young leaves, and this is an immobile na halaman. Ang iron natin is a still yellowing of young leaves, which is immobile pa rin. Ang magnesium naman, older leaves yan. It also causes a yellowing of older leaves first. However, remember, ang tinatanong is, ano daw yung most common nutrient deficiency? Ang magnesium naman natin is ang magnesium natin is not that common. Nitrogen yung pinaka-common. Kasi nga, kasama siya dun sa big 3 na NPK. Okay? So, this one is another slide for you to review in order to familiarize yourself with the different nutrient deficiency symptoms. Number 27. Conventional tillage involves, pag sinabi natin conventional tillage, ano ba yung ibig sabihin yan? So basically, when we say conventional tillage, yan yung traditional method natin in preparing land. Kung saan ang ginagawa ng mga farmers, they usually plow and turn the soil completely upside down. Okay? So ang tamang sagot dyan, conventional tillage is letter B. Okay? Complete soil inversion using plows. Ang kaibahan ng conventional tillage ay nasa number. Ang kaibahan ng conventional tillage sa non-conventional tillage ay nasa number 28. So sa number 28 naman, ano naman daw yung non-conventional tillage method? So kung ang conventional tillage is turning the soil upside down, ang non-conventional tillage is the opposite of that. You do not turn the soil at all. And ang tawag doon, zero tillage. Okay? Or no tillage. Okay? So yan yung difference, no? No tillage, zero tillage, non-conventional tillage yan. Conventional tillage naman, yan yung paggamit ng tractor, you are turning the soil upside down talaga. And then meron din tayong tinatawag, yung nasa gitna, conservation tillage. So under conservation tillage, nagtitil ka pa rin lightly. Hindi mo nga lang binubungkal talaga yung lupa. Number 29. Which tree species is best used as a windbreaker to protect annual crops from strong winds? So this one, it is talking about a tree species that is best used for windbreakers. So alin kaya ang windbreaker dyan? Ang tamang sagot ay letter C, okay? Bamboo. So ito yung mga common na windbreakers natin aside from bamboo. Okay, yan yung mga yan. Kalamansi, kasama dyan, okay? Yung mga, medyo mga malalaking kahoy natin. I think coconut is not a windbreaker kasi hindi ganun kalaki yung kanyang surface area. And finally, number 30, Rotbolia sp, commonly known as agingay in the Philippines, is what? So ang agingay po, or Rotbolia, is a weed. Okay? So it is a problematic weed in rice and cornfield. Tinatawag din natin yan internationally, yung kanyang common name or English na common name niya is stitchgrass. It is one of the most troublesome weeds in tropical agriculture. Okay, so before we end this presentation, i-discuss ko lang ulit yung phytohormones kanina kasi ito yung isa sa mga question na natakol. And I think I have forgot to add the slides on phytohormones. So ano ba yung phytohormones? These are also called plant hormones. They are essential regulators of growth, development, and responses to environmental stimuli in plants. And meron po tayong 5 klase ng phytohormones. Auxin, gibberellic acid, cytokinin, ethylene, and abscisic acid. So ano-ano kaya yung pinagkaiba ng 5 yan? So yung auxin natin, ito yung pinaka well-studied na phytohormones basically. And ang pinaka-function ng auxin natin is to grow the plants through cell elongation. So bakit lumalaki yung halaman? It's not because dumadami yung kanyang cell, pero dahil yung cell niya ay humahaba at lumalaki. Makikita mo ang auxin rin dun sa ating phototropism mechanism, kung saan the auxin helps the plants grow towards the light by redistributing auxin to the side of the plant that needs growth. So very important ang auxin sa cell elongation and dun sa phototropism natin, which is a movement that is dependent on the direction of the stimuli. So ang auxin natin for growth. Now, another hormone for growth is what we call as gibberellic acid. Now, ang gibberellic acid naman, they stimulate elongation. Okay? They stimulate stem elongations through cell elongation as well. Okay? And they are also very important in seed germination and fruit and leaf growth as well. So, ang gibberellic acid mo, is para din siyang auxin, no? Kasi for cell elongation din po siya. Yun nga lang, medyo mas broader yung kanyang function in comparison to your auxin. Kasi ang gibberellic acid mo, hindi lang siya for stem elongation, but also for seed germination and fruit and leaf growth. Now, yung auxin mo, yung growth na makikita natin dito sa dulo, yan, apical dominance, whereas yung gibberellic mo naman, yung paghaba ng mismong stem. Hindi lang yung nasa dulo. Ang cytokinin is another growth hormone. Pero ang mechanism ng cytokinin is to grow the plants not through cell elongation but through cell division. So lumalaki basically yung halaman, hindi dahil humahaba yung cells niya, pero dahil dumadami yung cells niya. So that's another hormone. That's another growth hormone. So very important ang cytokinin to delay senescence, okay? Or yung to delay yung pagmamature and eventually pagkasira ng halaman. And it's also very important in nutrient mobilization. Okay? Cytokinins help mobilize nutrients from older parts of the plant to younger parts. So yun yung reason kung bakit lumilipat. Yun yung reason kung bakit nagiging mobile yung mga nutrients, like, for instance, nitrogen. Kung bakit lumilipat yung nutrients from older site to newer site, it is because of cytokinin. And then we also have ethylene, which is very important naman in fruit ripening. So ang ethylene natin, hindi siya growth hormone, pero very important siya when it comes to senescence, very important to ripening, etc. It also protects the plants from stress. Okay? And finally, we have abscisic acid or ABA. So the abscisic acid is primarily known as a stress hormone as well. It plays a critical role in plants to cope with abiotic stress. Yung mga key roles niya includes stomatal closure. So kung bakit nagsasara yung stomata is because of abscisic acid. Kung bakit nagiging dormant ang mga seeds, it's because of abscisic acid. And growth inhibition during stressful times. So ini-inhibit niya yung growth ng halaman kapag yung halaman ay stress. Kasi nga, hindi maganda yung environment para yung halaman ay mag-grow. Kailangan niya mag-conserve ng energy. So therefore, napipigilan ngayon yung kanyang paglaki. Okay? So, I think we're done with our send-off coaching sa crop science natin. Now, I urge you guys to please watch all of these videos, including now the Q&A video sa YouTube channel ko, which I will add now doon sa ating Google Classroom for your easier navigation. Maraming salamat ulit. By Tuesday, before your exam, magpo-provide ako sa inyo ng tips on how you will tackle the questions during your exam. Magbibigay ako sa inyo ng tips on how you're going to prepare yourself sa exam. And isa sa mga gusto kong gawin ay ipag-pray rin kayo as you undertake your board exam. I wish you all the best. Okay? I wish you all the best sa inyong exam. I am hoping na sana lahat kayo pumasa. Lahat ng magte-take na nag-enroll sa Learning Agri with Al ay pumasa, and you will find the contents na aking i-produce sa Learning Agri with Al Google Classroom as relevant sa inyong exam. Hihingi rin ako sa inyo ng feedback, ha? By the way, hihingi rin ako sa inyo ng feedback right after your exam para makita ko kung ano pa yung pwede kong i-improve sa aking content na makakatulong pa sa mga susunod na takers ng LEA on the next season. So kayo po dito ay hindi lang mga estudyante ko, kayo po dito ay hindi lang mga reviewers ko, but rather kayo rin po ay partners ko in order to grow this movement. Okay? Now, if you like the way I explain things, if you like the way I teach things, your support means a lot to me. So yung feedback na yun ay makakatulong rin para talaga i-improve rin yung capacity ko to produce more high quality lectures. Now, I must admit, no, marami akong kakulangan sa mga lectures na to. But I did my best, okay, amidst the fact na marami akong pinagsasabay. I did my best to provide to you a comprehensive lecture on the different topics na lalabas sa LEA based on the TOS. Pero I must admit, hindi pa ito perfect. There's a lot still to be improved dito sa content na to, so your feedback will really, really mean a lot. So hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat ulit sa pakikinig. Wait for my last video giving you the tips and tricks for your exam. How are you going to prepare? And yeah, yung prayer ko na lang sa inyo. Okay? So maraming salamat. Thank you very much to everyone.